Hey there, everybody. Welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name, and today we're going to be talking about the host. This is the premier magic caster of the male and ensemble. Potentially the homeless man and the cabbie are up for that too, but those are specific. This is a generic or whatever, meaning everyone can do this job. So let's kind of take a look at the host, what they do, why I think they're good, how to build them. Then we'll take a look at their attacks and kind of how they work in combat. So I know this is a homeless guy, but we're going to go through their abilities like this. So as for most, there's a lot of these abilities that aren't going to be great, but then they have some super, super good abilities, and there's a few other reasons why they're good too. Sparkling Splash, light damage, has a chance to catch a cold. It's as an intro ability. Hyper Shout, boost nearby allies' attack. This is actually like not the worst. You would almost never do this. You would almost always go into Samurai and get Glory Awaits because it does attack and critical chance, so it's just better. But still, just for getting someone at level 1 in the very early game, this is definitely good. Golden Finger, I would never steal cash from someone. Unless there's like a way to get millions and millions with this, I don't think it would be relevant. Birthday Bash, ironically, I don't really use the birthday attacks. Medium damage, a chance to lower their attack. This is actually not bad, but I'm usually trying to deal damage with this character. They're not like a hybrid support, so I'm not usually trying to deal damage and then lower their attack. I'm trying to do damage and then do more damage kind of thing. So I don't tend to use this that much, but it absolutely can be, if enemies start blowing you up, a good way to, try to start lowering their attack. This ability is pretty good. Increasing all allies' magic. This is actually just not as common as the other one. You don't have the same version of this where it gives everyone's, like, you don't have the Glory Awaits, but for magic abilities. This is basically the one that you have. Kasuga has one built in, but it's basically the same. It just has a bigger AoE, I think. So this is one you are going to be using quite a bit if you want to get your magic up to stage 3 and keep it there, and you don't have infinite money for the summons. Platinum Finger, steal an item. I don't know what items are in this game that are worth stealing. Everything seems pretty easily obtainable. Maybe there's some super healing items, but like as far as ultimate weapons and stuff, none of the stealing is never necessary. Birthday Bonanza, basically just a better version of Birthday Bash, except it lowers their magic, which is probably worse because enemies don't tend to use magic as much. It depends on the enemy. But its power is heavy. But now these ones are the ones that are all average. Now let's get to the good shit here. These last 5 abilities are fantastic. Maybe their best or second best ability is Rose Stinger. Basically, this is heavy damage, a single enemy, and then it says heavy. I swear it does more than heavy. It just feels like this is always doing one of the most damages in my entire playthrough. It's been doing so much damage, but it can also leave an enemy charmed and burnt. It's not super high to do either of these, but if you ever land either of them, it's pretty darn good. The burnt is kind of whatever. It's still good. It's extra damage. So the good thing about burn versus poison is burn does most of its damage up front, whereas poison does its damage on the back end. So if you burn someone, they take the most amount of damage the first turn of burn, then a little bit less, then a little bit less until it wears off. And so this burn is better than poison in that regard. But charmed is like super powerful. The fact that you're doing an insane damage with a chance to do both of these is good. And the burn seems to happen more frequently than the charm for sure. And there's a lot of synergy with that kind of stuff. If you have a chef, you can then lower the enemy stats. If you have a desperado, you could do more damage based off their status ailment. So there's a lot of good things that comes with this ability. Ice Spreader, I'll admit, I don't use this one that much. It's okay. I know I was saying how good they are. This one is the one that's not so good out of these ones. It's fine. Cold is a bad version of burn, but it can spread to enemies. The reason I don't use this much is because the housekeeper for the ladies and the Geodancer just have, I think it's the housekeeper, this has better version of ice attacks. This is just not a very good ice attack, and I'm using Tomizawa a lot, and Tomizawa has the scrub down, which is very strong. It's a heavy single target, so this is AoE, but this abilities does not get used that much, especially when you have Essence of Champagne Wave, which is just better and not too much more mana. Wonder Cocktail is like the bread and butter. It's the Wonder Cocktail of this build. It doubles the damage of your next magic attack. I've talked about this in a lot of videos, but this is one of the better abilities in the entire game. The getting you drunk is just for flavor, I think. But when you double the damage of your next attack, you're actually dealing more than double damage. You're dealing more damage. If I did Rose Stinger, that would do less damage than Wonder Cocktail plus Rose Stinger, because if I use Wonder Cocktail and then I get a magic buff, suddenly the magic buff is then applying to basically both versions of the Rose Stinger, right? If I can lower their willpower. So, or in worst case scenario, I'm using something like Rose Typhoon and it just saves me 40 mana. It's just a great ability, always fantastic. You should pretty much always be using it against big bosses, unless you really, really, really want to debuff a boss with for some reason, right? Like maybe on Tomy, I'm trying to use Oil and Toil to get their fire resistance all the way down. And so maybe I don't want to use Wonder Cocktail because he's in a debuff mode. But outside of that, you pretty much always want to be doing it. And even then you could be doing it, but it would just take longer to get the debuffs on. Essence of Rose Typhoon, huge area. It's a Rose Stinger on steroids. It does pretty much the same damage, but in a huge area instead of a single target. Chance to charm and burn everybody. One of the better AoE attacks in the game. Not the best, you know, it's no Dondoko beam. But it's a big old circle. It hits a lot of stuff, and it's very powerful. Essence of Champagne Wave, basically the same thing as Ice Spreader, but better. It actually goes from medium to heavy, so it's even better. It still does like a line, so it's not great, but it just is a good damage. It's good AoE, right? And it's probably your best ice attack besides maybe Scrub Down, which does less damage, but can lower their electricity resistance if that's what you want. So overall, a great selection of abilities that we're going to take a look at here. So why are they so good? Like, to be honest, their ultimate weapon isn't insane. It's fine. You greatly buff magic when you defeat an enemy. The issue is you could just buff your magic anyway. It's not that hard to buff your magic. And if you have infinite money, you could always buff your magic all the way up to level 3 almost instantly, right? Because you could use a summon every turn to increase your magic. So you almost don't even need this. But if you're just going into a fight, you do some strong AoE, you kill something, suddenly you get magic boost level 2. Like, that's pretty good to start with. It's not insane, though, but it is good. Now, one of the things that makes them so strong, other than they have great stats, like if we come in here and actually look at their stats, they just have good stats. Like, look at that magic, right? And so they also have really, really high willpower, which it might look like, oh, they have low defense. They don't have low defense because you have Mage Boots. You just put on Mage Boots. Mage Boots makes it so you don't need defense. You just use willpower. So they've got, yes, they have low HP. I'll admit that. They have, but even then, like a job that has, what is the job that is the most HP? Action Star. 281 more HP. Is that much more HP? It is a lot, but it's not usually going to be enough to make the difference of surviving a hit, especially when this class actually has better defenses by a significant margin than those. Like, because of the willpower being so high, and the magic being so high, and the MP being so high, this character just is tanky as heck, as long as you're using the Mage Boots. Now, I'm not currently, for no reason, because I don't feel I need the tankiness, but this could be the most tanky character in the game. You know why? Unique armor. The #1 jacket is the #1 jacket. I don't know if you know this, but the host has one resistance, and it is resistant to ice damage. However, if you can see below my camera here, if you get the #1 jacket, the unique host jacket actually gives you, on top of giving you 15 magic, which is not bad, and reasonable defenses, not cream of the crop, but pretty darn good defenses. You also get blunt resistance, blade resistance, and gun resistance, meaning you only don't have resistance to fire and electricity. Between that, so they already have one of the highest willpowers, so they're already passively pretty resistant to magic. They've also resist 1/3 of the magic. They also resist all the physical, and then even if the enemy is trying to get physical, you could just put on the wizard boots, and then suddenly, boom, you're actually just tanky as all get out. It's a pretty insane tanky class, which isn't something you would think of. And honestly, it probably isn't in the early part of the game. Like, it probably is not tanky at all, and then gets tanky in the late game. So just a very, very powerful class overall. It adds a lot of damage. It adds the ability to do some debuffs. It's got a little bit of support. It's mostly a damage class, though, but it's a tanky damage class. It doesn't have any way to heal people or anything like that, so it doesn't have any good, real good support stuff, but it does have some. So let's just go in, and we'll take a look at its ultimate attacks, and we'll kind of going. I don't want to go in too deep because they are a high enough level where I could just get one. They're faster than me, and I have just gotten one tap before I've actually gotten a chance to get a turn. Yeah, we'll pick it up. We'll pick it up. All right, let's take a look here. So we are going to try to go all in to make our guy stronger. So we're going to use a hello Namba. I'm so excited to have Namba on the team again, by the way. I know it's only for a minute with Ichiban, but this is going to be my end game team, I think. I have to figure out what my true Amon fight end team is going to be. All right, so let's go ahead and... You know what? We're not going to use that in case these enemies don't have enough HP. We're going to use the... Uh-oh. Damn, I got rid of it because I knew I had this. All right, we're going to use this after all. Hopefully they have more than 1,000 HP. They do! Now you're going to... guard. You're gonna go ahead and oh, here we go. This is why this ability is so good, right? Where's it at? Wonder Cocktail. Get a little drink on. Yep. Hey, don't just start drinking drinks. Oh, he's got max willpower. This is probably a bad fight to show it because they have a chance to run away, but it should be fine. All right, did I give you the... I fucked it up. All right. Well, I forgot to give him his thing. Let's just give him a battle item of Poseidon powder. I have Poseidon powder. Don't even pretend that I don't. There we go. There we go. All right, so now we could... This is actually perfect. We could substitution jutsu. So let's take a look if they're weak to either of these. They are not, but I want to do this one first. So keep in mind that if we had Tomi's unique armor on, we could potentially deal more damage. Just not in this situation, but his unique armor lets him deal more damage to weaknesses, which is really good. But I think the tankiness, the later you get into the game, is actually going to be good here. So let's do the... We'll take a look at these. That way you can see the animations, too. I want you to decide how much this would hurt. Each time we watch one of these, I want you to tell me how much you think it would hurt. Yeah. I honestly don't think that would hurt. That didn't look like it hurt at all. 4,000 damage. That's pretty good for not having a weakness on him, right? And then we're going to guard, and then we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do the other one. The substitution jutsu is so fucking strong. I literally had... I did like 3 or 4 massive AoE attacks in a row because of the way you can kind of just break the game with it. All right, we did the Champagne Wave. Let's do the Essence of Rose Typhoon. This one's not going to be double power. I do love the host ultimates. I mostly love the Champagne one when they're just clapping. Hey! Also, keep in mind, these are high-level enemies, right? They're higher level than me. So there we go. So it's basically just a high damage class. As you can see, we're not super likely to land these debuffs. You could upgrade your weapon to make it more likely to land those debuffs. I would probably do... That's probably a good idea. If you're going with the host, what marks you'd want to use, probably increase the chance of status ailments, either restrictive or regular. Make it so your fire damage does bonus damage, and then make it so your magic attacks can crit. That's probably what I would do. I think those are probably the 3 good brands there. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this one. I mean, maybe it's a little bit shorter than the rest. Actually, we could talk about which characters are good with. I mean, obviously all characters have their own reason to do it. Now, I actually think that there is something interesting here potentially with Adachi, because Adachi has the detective thing where he has the essence of cut and run. So if you are doing the increased restrictive status ailment, this might be good enough to use because it can stun people instead. But honestly, obviously, Namba is going to be pretty good too. But the issue is I probably would not have Namba go host unless you really need someone to be tanky and you have access to it. But Namba's ultimate weapon as Homeless Guy is so useful and synergistic with the Magic team that I'd want the Homeless Guy on my team, and I would take the host abilities over. So I actually think Eric is probably the best of the characters, Tomizawa. I think he's probably going to be the best host in the game because his default gear is fine. It boosts damage, and that's good. But I think having the immense survivability of the host is pretty good. And then, I mean, it's either him or Kasuga, because Kasuga has a bunch of revives. So maybe you do want to have Kasuga as the host so he can't die, and then just have a bunch of revives on him, right? Because I don't think Tomizawa can even get a revive, if I'm being honest. I don't think there's a revive in his kit. So you might want that. Maybe Kasuga is the best host because the tankiness, dealing damage, but then also being able to be the last one surviving. So, but then again, you don't need a revive if you just have an item, which is the same amount of actions, and it takes even less MP. It takes a little bit of money, but like 500. Would you spend, if you had a skill on the host at level 28 and it said it costs 0 mana, spend 500 money, and then it said revive ally at half HP, would you do that? Yes. And that's what a first aid kit is. It's yes, you can only carry 10, but how many times are you going to revive 10 times with a character that doesn't have a revive in a battle? Just pretend that's his skill, and then your characters that have MP and revives will do that. Anyway, that's all for today. I think you should obviously, the host is going to be your primary damage dealer or one of your primary damage dealers in a mostly magic build. You could have them in just to do magic damage. That's fine, but I think they really start to shine when there's synergy there. When you're increasing your magic, you're decreasing the enemy's willpower, so you have Geo Dancers, or at least one in your party. And then you're also lowering their fire resistance, their lightning resistance, their ice resistance, things like that. There's no lightning built into the host, but mostly their fire resistance. So like a Homeless Namba will be very, very good in that squad. Anyway, that's all for today. Much love. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Also, check out the streams sometime. I've been having fun streaming this New Game Plus mode, and we're going to be streaming something else soon. I don't know exactly what. And I'm thinking about starting a YouTube membership thing. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe it's not, though. I don't know. We'll talk about it. Anyway, peace out.